Hello, Paul here from EMD Automotive. I've got this Porsche Carrera S 997 engine here. I've got here, so I'll take the engine out to do cam cover gaskets. I've cleaned this side here already. I'll just put the cover on just to stop any debris going in. I have just removed the intake manifold, which is this one here, so I can replace the gaskets. The reason why, because the actual oil separator has failed already, and then there's a lot of oil going into the actual intake manifold, causing actually what happened is the actual, over time, the actual intake manifold rubber gasket, which is underneath here, I'll show you what I mean. See that? Covered in oil from the actual failed oil separator. Alright, and actual over time the gasket will start to leak. It won't seal properly, and all the air, you have a massive air leak. Alright, sometimes we have a massive misfiring on one of these 996, 997, and then I have found in the past that the actual one of the intake manifold was leaking because of the actual oil vapor separator. That's why it's very important when you're actually changing the actual oil vapor separator, you need to actually clean the intake manifold. Otherwise all the oil will just sit at the bottom over time. Anyway, let's go back into the actual this engine here. I took the actual intake manifold off so I can replace the actual if you got the engine out on any model Porsches and the intake manifold gasket has never been done, please just get it done. Order 6 gaskets, 6 of these green gaskets from Porsche, and clean the intake ports. Make sure you clean the intake ports. After this, I want to give it a quick wipe, and I'm going to put some tape on this or some rags inside there to stop it from actually any debris going in. But the reason why I left it open, so I can show you guys. So that's cylinder number 1, cylinder number 2, number 3. I've got to clean everything up. Number 4, number 5, and number 6. Alright, this car here, I'm replacing the actual oil separator. The oil cooler is leaking as well. This is the oil heat exchanger oil cooler. If you're wondering what the part number is, this is the part number here. The part number there to make it easier for you if you're looking for one. There's 2 types. One is tall, one is short. So tall means this way, going that way. So there's a shorter one, which is half of this one. Alright, so make sure you get the correct one for your model. Anyway, so so when you actually, if you're doing the oil separator on the 997, make sure you change all these. If you got the engine out, just change that. Change this one and change this one here. They fail as well. Change the purge solenoid valve. It's really hard to get to in the car because it goes around the intake manifold like that and it comes back inside. It's really hard to do in the car because there's no room. So change this one here as well. That's what I'm doing. I have to order a new one of these. This one's already gone, failing. And I've got this one, I've got that one, I've got the other one as well. So you got three plastic hoses on the 997, which is that one, and that one. Alright. One goes back to the intake, one goes to bank 1, and this one goes to bank 2. Alright. And this one, the bottom one here is the coolant hoses. So I've got to replace them as well. I'm getting new one as well, because sometimes these coolant hoses here, the bottom one here on the actual separator, they start to crack and they break off. So there's no point doing all this job here, and make sure you replace all this here. This is a coolant hose here. This one here is a coolant hose. So that one, especially that one there is a coolant hose, plastic, and that one there as well is coolant hose, plastic. So there's 3 plastic, 1, 2, and 3. Change all of them. Make your life easier, because you're gonna put everything back together, and the customer will come back and say something's wrong here, somewhere it's cracked. Sometimes they're already cracked, it's just sitting there ready for you to move it, and they break off. Alright, so make sure you change the separator, change all this. If you have the engine out, change all the plastic. They're only plastic and a few little coolant. So the only rubber is only this one here, that one there, and that one there is rubber. The rest here, it's all plastic, nothing else. And while you're at it, this is the actual starter motor cable. This one here, I take the starter motor cable off and I make up my own starter motor cable and alternator cable that goes from there, from here to here, and then from here down here to the back here. Alright, make up your own and get a new one, or just do it because it's a failing item. You don't want to actually put everything back together and you're going to start pulling everything apart again. Alright, this starter motor looks okay. I can't tell if it's brand new or it's been done before or not, but usually when I have an engine out like this, I pull them out and put new brushes, just rebuild them and put it back together. It's still cheaper rather than putting everything back together here. Even the actual alternator, if you can hear the alternator here. Alternator is alright because if they do fail, you can always do it in the car, it's not that bad. But the starter motor, just rebuild it yourself, or send it, if you don't do the rebuild, send it away to get a rebuild. Alright, I rebuild here the starter motors and the actual alternator myself. Alright, few little things to watch out for on the 997. Make sure you look at the actual plugs at the back here. They do leak oil, leak coolant. Sorry, there's no room, so I'm gonna watch where I step. 100%. See these little plugs here, the plug there? Make sure you change them. Get a new one. I'm getting a new oil. See how it's leaking here? Leaking oil. I look down here. From the actual rear main seal, leaking as well. And make sure you change this rubber here. Change the actual coolant hoses as well. Anything plastic while you're here. See, this is the main one as well. It always breaks all the time. This part here is a vacuum line for your brake booster. They always break off. It's normal. They crack off and they cause a misfire. So watch out for that one as well. Alright, this will cause a slight misfire and you think it's a coil, but it's not. Just make sure I'm just doing the actual, locked up the camshaft in top to center. Cylinder 1. Make sure you use this to hold the camshaft in place, otherwise you'll take the cam cover off and there's so much tension on one side, because they only support it at the middle here, front and middle, but nothing at the back here. That's why I've got this cam tool here, and make sure the smaller part of the circle is facing towards the outside of the cam cover. So I mark it there so you can see it properly. Alright, make sure you use blue or yellow so you can see it properly. It's just me anyway. But anyway, make sure you place that and then look at the pulleys, any of the pulleys, check your compressor, make sure it's not noisy. They do have a little bit of noise, but make sure they do lock. You can put 12 volts into here and make sure they do lock, and then spin it at the same time. See what happens. Okay. Make sure you check the O-ring down here on your power steering pump. Sometimes they leak from here as well. All right. Few little things you got to check out. The coil's been done already. There's the big coils. The other ones are smaller ones. If you look at the size of that coil, it's massive. It's pretty big. And I have to check all the wiring harness. See the wiring harness here? Look at that. It's all rusted here. I have to repair that one. Same time, I've got to actually see the rust on this fuel rail here. So I've got to actually, main reason I took it out, I've got to actually take this fuel rail off. And I won't take it out, I'll leave it on because it's already on there, but I want to get the rust off, a rust cleaner, and sand it down and see if it takes the rust off, because this is really dangerous. This is fuel. I don't know how much rust is going through the rail, but just assume it's going to break, so don't guess, just clean it up first, like this one here. And the reason why I want to clean it, because I don't want the rust to keep going, and then customer will have the line will burst and create fire. It's pretty hazard. So yeah, a lot of stuff here to check over as well. Like I mentioned before, I'm doing the water pump as well, because this is the original water pump, so I'm putting the metal impeller one, which is much better than the factory one. Can't say the factory one's bad, but I'm just saying over time the metal impeller water pump lasts longer. And make sure you change the thermostat as well to a cooler thermostat if you want. Just opens quicker than the actual factory one. Alright, while you're here, if you see your crank angle sensor like that looks old, change it, because they fail all the time and they cause problem when you're driving. So while you're here, anything you see sensor that's really hard to get to and things like that, just get it done. And things that you can get to, leave it off, you can do it later. Okay, thanks for watching and please subscribe.